If you acquire a 1986 to 1995 Mercedes Benz, one of the first things you're going to want to do is a good rear suspension inspection. All of these cars, except the W126, will have what's called a multi-link rear suspension. Okay? That means there's multiple points to inspect. Now, I'm looking at just the right side here, and I've got 10, I'm going to repeat that, I have 10 pivot points that I'm going to need to inspect. And what's so unique about this rear end, and this is of course one of the things that gives these cars such phenomenal handling and ride, is all these links work in concert with each other to give the rear end the geometry to keep the wheel lined up with the road and keep it on the road. So it's a great rear end, but when they get old, they suffer from some problems because there's a lot of rubber joints in them. So you need to just pull the wheels and give it a good inspection. Now, if you're not sure about the inspection or doing the inspection yourself, take it to a good suspension front end alignment shop. They can get it up on the rack and put some load on it and make sure it's not moving around. One of the things I do is I do a road test. And you can find out real quick on one of these cars whether or not you have wear in your multi-link suspension. And this is how you do it. You get on the road and you accelerate very rapidly. And if the car wants to steer on you, that means these rear hubs are moving. If you hit the brakes and the car wants to steer on you, then you've got a problem. Something's loose back here. I remember I got a W124 300D, and I'd be out on the freeway and I would, punch it to pass, and it felt like the car wanted to change lanes on me. So if that's happening in your Mercedes Benz, then the problem is probably back here in one of these key points in this multi-link suspension. Now, when you look at it, you want to get the wheel off. You can't do it from the backside, and you're going to need a very good light. I mean a real powerful light, and you're going to look at every one of these joints. Let me show you what you're looking for. Here you can see the view from the back, and this is the lower control arm. You have 2 points right here, this one and this one right here on the back side of the hub. I forgot to include the sway bar link in my 10 points. So we're actually talking about 12 points. So that means we have 12 points on each side. We'll just have to call this a 24-point multi-link suspension. So what I'm looking for are any signs of rust. That is usually the first indication that the joint has worn and there's movement there. Just look for even the faintest little sign of rust. Of course, if you're from the Rust Belt and the whole rear end is rusty, this inspection's not going to really work. But here I'm looking at each point. Just grab a hold of this sway bar link, see if it's tight, both down here and here where it attaches to the sway bar. I'm also going to come up here on top and look at the sway bar rubber where it attaches to the subframe. But I'm looking here and I'm looking down in here. We'll get the light on these joints because you're looking for any discoloration. Once again, rust is going to be the key thing that you're looking for. If it's coming out of these rubber joints, then you have a problem. Okay, so we've looked at 4 of them. Now let's look on the actual link bars. Now we'll swing around to the front and take a look at the joints on each one of these link rods. Oh, by the way, there's this bushing for the sway bar that I mentioned that you'll want to take a peek at. But you've got 1 link bar here, 1 here, 1 right here, and 1 here. So I'm going to use, once again, a very powerful light, and I'm going to look at each of these very closely, looking for deterioration of the rubber, any cracks in the rubber. You're going to be looking for, once again, those rust spots, which are the telltale signs of looseness. In other words, something's working in there. Now I'll have to go underneath the car and get on the back side. Okay. This one looks great. And of course the road test didn't show any problem with the rear end moving around. So now we'll go over and inspect the left side. And don't forget to check the subframe mounts when you're underneath here, checking everything else out. There's 4 of these rubber mounts on this subframe. This is the one forward, and the one aft is right over there. So you're looking for cracks in the rubber, excessive amount of cracking, and you're looking for any signs of rust coming through there that might indicate those subframe mounts are working in the mount. That completes the inspection of my multi-link rear end. Now I'm going to go underneath and we're going to check the rear differential and the fluid inside.